As they say on Earth, here's looking at you, kid.
Welcome to Olden Goldens, where we delve into surprising, little-known stories about the beauty icons of the 60s and 70s. Legendary actresses like Barbara Bach and Raquel Welch once captivated audiences with their stunning looks and undeniable charm. Are you ready to see what they look like today? Some transformations are truly astonishing, revealing changes no one could have predicted. Join us as we uncover the current appearances of 10 iconic stars. You'll be amazed not only by how they've changed, but also by the fascinating stories behind the glamour. Ali MacGraw. Ali MacGraw had a pretty impressive introduction to movie audiences, beginning in 1968 with A Lovely Way to Die, and, more importantly, for Goodbye Columbus, for which she won the Golden Globe in the category of Most Promising Newcomer, Female. Then, in 1970, she starred with Ryan O'Neal in the ultimate of movie tearjerkers, Love Story. After that, co-starring with Steve McQueen in The Getaway, followed by films like Convoy, Murder Elite, and Glam. Her credits include the massive hit miniseries The Winds of War and 14 episodes of Dynasty. Ali also appeared on Broadway in Festin and reunited with Ryan O'Neal in Love Letters, but didn't really stay with acting beyond the above. She has been involved with animal activism over the years and has been married 3 times, to Robin Hohn from 1961 to 1962, producer Robert Evans from 1969 to 1972, and Steve McQueen from 1973 to 1978. She has one son, Josh Evans. In her autobiography, Moving Pictures, she admits that she has dealt with both alcoholism and sex addiction. Jane Fonda. Jane Fonda credits Lee Strasberg of the Actors Studio, and his realization that she had genuine talent, with filling her with determination to become an actress. She started on the stage, including Broadway, but then burst onto movie screens in the 1960s and continued into the early 70s with films like Cat Ballou, Barefoot in the Park, Barbarella, They Shoot Horses, Don't They?, Clute in a Doll's House. And then she risked losing it all. In 1972, Jane, an outspoken critic of America's war in Vietnam, had gone to Hanoi, where she was photographed sitting in a North Vietnamese anti-aircraft gun. The result was the nickname Hanoi Jane, and what has been described as blacklisting in Hollywood at the time is difficult to see from a 2020 vantage point. She absolutely took a lot of heat for that, but the work, much of it critically acclaimed, kept on coming. The 70s were rounded out with Julia, Coming Home, Comes a Horseman, and the China Syndrome. And the list continues. In addition to movies, she also became an exercise guru in the 80s, much of the 90s, and picked it up again in 2010 when she launched a series of videos that kicked off with 1982's Jane Fonda's Workout. This series was incredibly popular at the time. In more recent years, she has moved over to television in the form of The Newsroom and her series with Lily Tomlin, Grace, and Frankie. Jane, who is 82, was married to her Barbarella director Roger Vadim from 1965 to 1973, Tom Hayden from 1973 to 1990, and Ted Turner from 1991 to 2001. Richard Perry was her partner from 2009 to 2017. She has 3 children and is 86. Carol Burnett. In a way, we're giving short shrift to Carol Burnett in that if you had to boil her career down to one thing, it would undoubtedly be The Carol Burnett Show, arguably the greatest comedy variety show ever produced. Born April 26, 1933, when Carol went to college, she wanted to study to be a playwright, but found she also had to take an acting course. Releasing all inhibitions, she found that the people she performed in front of roared with laughter, and she suddenly found her calling. Making her way to television, she appeared on variety shows and made guest appearances on episodes, all of which led to CBS producing her variety show, which would go on to win 25 Emmy Awards and bring together the likes of Harvey Korman, Tim Conway, and Vicki Lawrence. Afterward, Carol continued appearing on a variety of series, TV movies, and features. She also produced and recurred in Mama's Family, based on the skit from her show. She's written a number of memoirs and nonfiction books. Carol was married 3 times, to Dawn Soroyan from 1955 to 1962, Joe Hamilton from 1963 to 1984, and Brian Miller in 2001. She has 3 children. Carol is 91. Tippi Hedren. Working as a model and appearing on television commercials in the late 1950s and early 1960s, Tippi Hedren caught the attention of director Alfred Hitchcock, who signed her to a 7-year contract. The result was that she would star in his 1963 horror film The Birds and the disturbing psychological drama Marnie, starring Sean Connery. In many ways, Hitchcock put her through hell and, especially on Marnie, was as obsessed with Tippy as Connery's character was with hers. After 2 films, she and the director went their separate ways. In 1969, Tippy and her then-husband, Noel Marshall, were in Africa shooting the film Satan's Harvest. After a game warden moved out of a house there, they watched a pride of lions essentially move in and adapt to living there. As a result, Noel wrote a script called Lions, Lions, and More Lions. They somehow got permission to shoot the film on a ranch they'd purchased in Acton, and it took many years and $17 million to produce it involving real animals. When it was over, Tippy was determined to come up with the money to help the animals, and did by creating the Roar Foundation, a nonprofit whose sole purpose was to take care of them. To raise funds, she would take any project that was offered to her, no matter how low budget. What this means is that there are far too many titles to try and list here. Tippy has been married 3 times, to Peter Griffith from 1952 to 1961, Noel Marshall from 1964 to 1982, and Luis Barranquilla from 1985 to 1995. She is the mother of actress Melanie Griffith and the grandmother of Dakota Johnson. A true acting dynasty. Tippy is a trippy 94. Sally Field. There's no doubt that Sally Field must have felt massive vindication when she won Academy Awards for her performance in Norma Rae and Places in the Heart. She got her start on the sitcom Gidget, which she looks back at fondly. This is diametrically opposed to her feelings about The Flying Nun. In essence, she has virtually nothing good to say about it. Her frustration stems from the fact that she wasn't allowed to grow up or play a character that in any way reflected the changing society of the late 1960s. Her third show, The Girl with Something Extra, was pretty forgettable. But her frustrations over all of this changed her life. Sally went to study at the Actors Studio with Lee Strasberg, who helped guide her to let go of what her career on television had been and move on to the next level, which happened almost immediately. In 1976, she starred in the TV movie Sybil as a character suffering from multiple personality disorder that was so powerful, Sally brought home the Emmy Award and everybody noticed. Moving to the big screen, she starred with Burt Reynolds in the major hit Smokey and the Bandit. 2 years later, it was the film about union organizer Norma Rae. And from there, a shift back and forth the next couple of years between comedies and dramas, including the previously mentioned Places in the Heart. Many other films followed over the decades, both dramas and comedies. And when she did return to television, it was a far more complex medium than the one she left. Sally had a recurring role on ER, appearing on 12 episodes between 2000 and 2006, and was the matriarch of Brothers and Sisters. Sally, born November 6, 1946, was married to Steve Craig from 1968 to 1975 and Alan Greisman from 1984 to 1993. She was romantically involved with Burt Reynolds from 1977 to 1980. She has 3 children. Sally is 77. Tina Louise. When you think of Tina Louise, as is the case with all of her co-stars, it's impossible not to have images of the Gilligan's Island TV series come to mind. But the truth of the matter is, Tina actually accomplished an awful lot prior to playing Ginger, the movie star, and even after, despite all of those rumors about typecasting. In the years leading up to Gilligan's 1964 debut, she appeared in 8 feature films, beginning with 1958's God's Little Acre. There were also a dozen television appearances during this time, alternating between dramas and comedies, and she was on Broadway in the musical Fade Out, Fade In, when she had to leave for California to start filming the series. There's no secret in the fact that Tina grew tired of the material given to her on Gilligan's Island and refused to appear in the 3 reunion movies that would be filmed in the late 70s and early 80s, but she certainly kept working. Over the years, among her movie credits are Dean Martin's Matt Helm adventure, The Wrecking Crew, But I Don't Want to Get Married, The Stepford Wives, Hell Riders, Welcome to Whoop Whoop, and Tapestry. And then there were dozens of TV appearances in terms of movies and episodes, some of them very dark compared to Gilligan's Island. She was married to Les Crane from 1966 until 1971 and has a daughter named Caprice Crane. Tina is 90. Ursula Andress. Ursula Andress stepping out of the water in a bikini in the first James Bond movie, Dr. No, created a classic, iconic cinematic moment that few have been able to touch. And it's also the image you're likely to see whenever somebody talks about the Swiss actress. Born March 19th, 1936, when she was at a party, she met a producer who offered her a screen test, which led to a part in the 1955 Italian film The Sins of Casanova. After a few more films, she was convinced to give Hollywood a shot. She made her American debut in a 1962 episode of Thriller, starring alongside Alejandro Rey. That same year, she played Honey Rider in Dr. No and became an instant star, though one hindrance was the fact that despite speaking 3 languages, English was not among them, often resulting in her voice being dubbed. Hollywood and the audience didn't seem to mind. In 1963, she co-starred with Elvis in Fun in Acapulco and with Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra in 4 for Texas. For a time, Ursula's stardom continued, co-starring with George Peppard in The Blue Max, Peter Sellers in the James Bond spoof Casino Royale, Charles Bronson in Red Sun, The Sensuous Nurse, and The Fantasy Clash of the Titans. After that, there were some TV guest appearances and her return to Italian films. She's been married 4 times and has 1 child. She's 88. Barbara Eden. From singing in her church choir to studying theater, becoming Miss San Francisco in 1951, and 4 years later becoming a semi-regular on The Johnny Carson Show, followed by numerous TV guest star appearances, a starring role in 1, and nearly 20 feature films to her credit, Barbara Eden brought a wealth of experience to the table when she was cast along with Larry Hagman in I Dream of Jeannie. In 1965, with A Dream of Jeannie ending its run in 1970, Barbara never stopped moving. She starred in a wide variety of mostly dramatic TV movies and a few feature films, including 1978's Harper Valley PTA, which spawned her 1981 to 1982 TV series version. She also hit the stage in many productions, most notably in the national production of the musical comedy Woman of the Year in 1984, and from 2000 to 2004, the national touring production of Neil Simon's The Odd Couple, the female version, in which she played Florence Unger opposite Rita McKenzie's Olive Madison. And she recorded 2 albums. Through it all, she always embraced her legacy as Jeannie, even going so far as celebrating her 85th birthday by donning her old costume for a public event. That's somebody who loves her character. Barbara was born Barbara Jean Moorhead on August 23, 1931 in Tucson, Arizona. She's been married 3 times, to actor Michael Ansara from 1958 until their divorce in 1974, Charles Fager from 1977 to their divorce in 1982, and John Eichholtz beginning in 1981. With Ansara, she had 1 son, Richard, who tragically died of a drug overdose in 2001. Barbara is 92,